Hello, my name is Edwin.
What up, y'all? This is Jeff.
And this is Frantic. What is going on, guys? This is Tilted, Not Stirred. Welcome, welcome. It is a lovely Monday evening today, October 3rd. First episode of the month of October. So, I'm sure all the kids are ready to go trick-or-treating this month. Are you guys going to go trick-or-treating?
No.
Nah, but I like the vibe. You know,
The
Halloween.
vibe?
Yeah, the vibe that Halloween brings in. The cold nights, it's nice and cold, nice and dark early.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I love that shit all the time.
How old's your nephew now?
He is 3.
3. Okay. Well, I guess maybe not old enough to trick-or-treat yet. However, I don't know. Do people still even do that? I don't
Yeah.
think people have really knocked on our door the past. Well,
It also
actually,
depends
now that I
where you
just
live.
remember that the past couple of years have been awkward because
Yeah,
of
COVID.
things. Yeah, so
Now, last year we
Yeah.
had some. There was a couple last year, but
I guess
like
it should be interesting this year.
2020
see
was
what
completely
happens.
dead.
Yeah, people go
Okay.
to the rich houses too. You know,
Well, since we don't live at the rich houses, well, I guess we're okay.
the
No, we
rich
don't gotta buy
neighborhood.
no candy. Talking about
So-
candy, I've actually been eating candy corn. My cousin bought some candy corn randomly, and I haven't had candy corn in ages. And I tried some, and I'm like, wow, why do people shit on candy corn?
That's how I feel when I have the first one. Right? You have the first one. It's so fucking good, and you're like, oh my god. Then you have another one, and it starts tasting more and more like wax. And it's just like that first one
It
hits.
got
on
me
a-
there. Yeah.
It hits on an
What's-
unbelievable level, and then it just the law of diminishing returns hits really hard on the candy.
I've been having 2 at a time for that reason. Because I had 3, and I'm like, this third one sucked.
And they're so small too.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh well. Yeah,
Yep,
that
yep.
first one hits really hard though. Butterbeer for Universal Studios, the Harry Potter drink that they sell in Harry Potter Land and Hogwarts Land.
Mm-hmm.
Tastes like candy corn. It's butterscotch flavored. It's a butterscotch icy that's fucking sick as fuck.
Have you guys been caught up on have you guys been caught up with the whole pumpkin spice craze? It is that time of year again.
No, but I did see Leslie's story and I was baffled.
Yeah, so I think I'm basic, guys. I but in a different way. I tried a pumpkin ale this past weekend, and it was delicious. I must admit, it tasted like pumpkin bread. If you guys have ever had that, this one's called Howling Gourds Pumpkin Ale, and don't know exactly where she bought it. Probably Trader Joe's.
Yeah,
'Cause
Trader
that's-
Joe's is lit as fuck on pumpkin spice right now.
Yeah, so it's definitely a hard recommend for me. The Howling Gourds. If you like beer and you like pumpkin, I say go for it. It's pretty damn good. She didn't like it, but I thought it was pretty damn good.
All right, the come ups, huh? They're all up in your fridge.
Yep.
So you guys know I got a new phone, right? And I was like super excited about it. But with my last phone, I'd basically minimized it to the point where I only used it for important things and no frivolous or superficial things, or like I never had a game at all on my phone.
Boring.
And I had one game, and it was like a classical music Guitar Hero game
Mm-hmm.
that I fuck with, right? And then this time I was like, you know what? I have a stylus. This thing's beefy. I want to get in a video game. I considered, the big ones, Genshin Impact. I considered something that will push my phone, right? And I was like, what could that be? And I found it. And it's the New York Times crossword, bros. Oh my god.
Wow.
This is
Amazing.
This is actually such a huge coincidence because my girlfriend's mom, I guess my mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, she takes care of old people, and there's this old guy that she takes care of. We're gonna call him Bob, and
Okay.
Bob is 95 years old, and apparently he writes small like little books that are like essays and his thoughts about certain issues and stuff. And I was skimming through it, and there was one chapter about crossword puzzles, and I was like, "What the
What did
hell?"
Bob say? What did Bob say about crossword
Shit,
puzzles?
let me find it real quick. Fuck. Wait, give me a second. I wasn't ready for this.
Oh, okay. But anyways, we'll talk a
Okay.
little bit more on crossword, right? You know, I love fucking words, you know, vernacular. Like, I'm fucking hype on the dictionary and the thesaurus, you know? That's my shit. So, as I'm doing this crossword puzzle, there's a lot of shit that I'm like, what the how do we even get there? And just solving a word by solving everything around it is fucking nice. You know? I fucking get it. Maybe I'm at that age where I might just pick up a paper. You know what I'm saying? See what's inside.
Yeah. So this is what he says about crossword puzzles. People who do crossword puzzles know that they are a challenge, a test, and an exercise, not a time-killing distraction. They come in many levels of required skill, with the New York Times puzzle setting the standard. The crosswords increase in difficulty daily from Monday to Saturday, with Sunday enlarging both in size and challenge. And
Yeah.
he goes on and on about how basically old people they have like a innate advantage, and it's not really because like you have to be smart to do them. It's just that because they're old, they just know more words and know more history.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that were like how am I supposed to get this, right? The unit of I think one of them was it just says ill, that's gross, and it was a 3-letter thing. And it was not ill. You know, like
Why would they include the word in the description for the word?
it wasn't. It wasn't ill.
Oh, it was just that's gross. That's the description.
Yeah, it was like ill, that's gross. 3-letter word. What is it? And I was just there for like the longest. And then the answer was ick.
Ick.
Yes.
Yeah.
ICK.
But yeah, but you get there by I got there at least by solving everything around the word ick, and it gave me ick. And I was like, well, I guess it fucking works, right? But I don't know. They're just so fucking satisfying. I did the Sunday one, which is the hardest one. It took me about an hour.
Damn.
And that
That's
shit was
commitment.
yeah, I mean, I didn't want to look up any clues, anything. I wanted to just fucking sit there and do it. And it was the most cathartic thing in the world. It was amazing.
This is like the advanced version of Wordle, right? Like Wordle is like the super quick like 1 or 2 minute thing you can do every day, and then the crossword puzzles is the ultimate challenge.
Yeah. And there's so many fucking words, so many things. There was like the Portuguese kings, what are they referred to as? And I'm like, I have no fucking clue. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just, man, this shit it was great.
Very cool. Well, I guess I'll segue that into today's topic, talking about things that we don't completely understand. Today's topic is going to be about another thing that we don't quite understand, which is basically America's obsession with true crime. So let's go ahead and get that ukulele playing, and we'll
This
get
is
this
a
thing
spooky-
started.
This is a spooky ukulele.
You don't have the spooky version. Sad.
This is the spooky version.
All right. So before we get into today's topic, I just remembered I want to talk about something.
What's up?
I went to Vegas this weekend to visit a friend, and he recently got surgery for cancer, and it seems like everything's gonna be okay. But I guess maybe just a public service announcement that if you guys are in pain or have any kind of weird feeling about stuff, I mean, we're getting older. Maybe a good time to go get that checkup. I know I haven't been checked up in the past like 10 years probably, so I'm definitely due. It's on my to-do list for sure by the end of this year. But I just want to just go ahead and throw out that public service announcement. Go get your balls checked. Go get your rectum checked. Your all the things checked.
Hey, you're telling me you
dude.
don't get a weekly colonoscopy?
I do not. You do?
I
Yeah,
haven't gotten
you
checked
don't?
out.
What was that?
I haven't gotten checked out in like probably like 3-4 years. I'm like 3 years. Jesus.
Yeah, I've been like, since I've been going to the gym and losing a bit of weight, I've been kind of thinking to myself, you know what? I need to get fit before I go because I don't want to show up and then just them tell me, hey, you're overweight. Because it's like, no shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you considered losing a little bit of weight?
Yeah, it's like, you motherfuckers. I normally stay away from hospitals as much as I can, but after visiting him and stuff and just how it seemed like, you know, it really can just happen to anyone. It really puts some things into perspective for me, and I'm just like, shit, I gotta go make sure I'm good.
Yeah, man.
So.
That shit is rough for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hey, can you raise your fupa so we can get underneath and check those balls?
My fupa? What is that?
It's the fat.
Oh god.
It's your fat that hangs.
Hey, I don't call it a fupa. I gave it something else. I gave it a different name, all right?
A lonja.
Yeah. It's my love handles, all right? Leave me alone. But yeah, I guess I could talk a little bit about Vegas. I mean, I went out there and we did a little bit of gambling, and the Buffalo was not good to us this weekend, sadly. We started off hot. I know you get on the slot machine and it'll give you the instant dopamine, like, hey, you guess what? You just won. And you're like, oh shit, I gotta keep going now. Yeah. I usually like going on Buffalo, so Buffalo Gold, Buffalo Revolution, Buffalo Ascension. Anyway, anything that's Buffalo, that's what I gravitate towards on the slots. And those damn elusive Buffaloes.
You gotta get on the table games, man. That's where your best odds are.
Dude, if I get on table games, it's over for me. So I'd rather not.
I think slot machines are peak degeneracy.
Yeah, but see, with the slot machine, I already know that it's like, yes, there's like maybe an ounce of skill, but like it's just like a fun thing of like whether it happens or it doesn't. Whereas if I play table, I'm 1,000% sure I will be addicted if I ever gamble over the table like that.
PSA, check the seats every time you're gonna sit down next to a slot machine.
Oh,
Yeah, motherfuckers are so addicted to slot machines that they'll piss themselves in order to keep the machine.
Oh god.
In order to keep the machine because that is their lucky machine. So,
Yikes.
yeah. Always
Man,
check your seat.
I always go for the comfy chairs too. Maybe I want to just do the ones where I'm standing now.
Yeah, always check your seat, man. It's a huge issue.
Oh god. All right. Well, did you guys do anything this weekend or this week before we get into it?
I'm like super stressed out over promotion talk, but that's another story for another time. But hopefully it goes well. I should know sometime this month.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Good luck with
bro.
that. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I recently had my performance review and I got a raise, not a promotion, so like it's bittersweet, but it's something. It's something. We'll see what happens the rest of this year. Hopefully, I'm supposed to be
substantial?
getting. I mean, it's not really that much. Like, it's a 10% raise, so it's like, oh, cool, 10%. But like inflation's up, so it's like, is that 10% raise really anything? Not really, but it is what it is. Pushing for a promotion though, and hopefully, the plan right now is to get reevaluated in December. So gonna push for that pretty hard.
Good luck to you there, dude.
Yeah, man. I just, I'm almost 30, and after all of my plans of my 20s went to shit, other than like graduating college, I was like, you know what? By the time I'm 30 years old, I want to be a salary man. And so hopefully it gets done by December because my birthday's in January. So it's like right at that line, right? Like the last moment possible.
Don't force things, man. You got to be smart about this. And if you do get to 30, like, so be it. It's
I know. But, it's just.
It's not a race, man.
Hey, man, we lost 2 years of our life due to fucking COVID. So it's okay to push that.
Yeah, Frank, you're 28, dude. You get a refund.
I get a refund. So if everybody's allowed to roll back 2 years of their age.
Yeah, everybody gets a refund
I'm
on
down.
those 2 years, man. I'm down to it, man. I'm 28. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Well, I guess let's get into the topic, shall we? If nothing else.
Oh, real quick, right?
Okay.
So we just finished a hike. Everything was cool, and my coworkers were like, "Hey, how about we do a sprint right now?" Thinking they're looking at an easy prey, and I was like, "A sprint? You want to do a sprint right now?" And then I wanted to sound as apathetic to the whole thing as possible, right?
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, I definitely cannot do a sprint right now, but I'll indulge you." I fucking smoked them, and I knew I was gonna smoke them.
Damn.
But I was like, yeah, oh yeah, I don't know, man, I'm tired now.
Edwin said, "I'm out." Said, "Y'all thought
fucking got him, knees to chest, motherfucker. Yeah, that shit was tight.
Hey, you know what, Edwin?
And it made me feel young. It made me feel young. And then a homie posted a picture of me when I was in senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And that did not make me feel good. I was like, damn, I used to think I was fat then. Jesus.
Dude, same. I used to think I was fat back in high school, and I weighed 130, 135, and I was actually pretty skinny, and I thought I was fat. But I don't know. I guess we're just never meant to be happy with ourselves.
Yeah, that shit is insane. All right, but yeah, let's talk on our topic.
Let's talk about a little bit of true crime, shall we?
The Streets of L.A.? That's a great game.
True Crime Streets of L.A.
That's like Snoop Dogg was in the cover, right? Way back in the day?
Nah, Snoop Dogg was an unlockable character at the end. He was a secret character. He played a Snoop Dogg.
I don't know if I've seen any gameplay on that, but I did see a little bit of Noir. Noir seems cool. You're basically running around. You're a detective, and you actually interrogate people, and
you gotta look at
press
their cues.
X to doubt.
You gotta look at their facial cues if they're lying to you, and it's always they look to the left or they scratch their nose. That was the big technology of the time.
Yeah, that game definitely it did teach me a little bit about body language and how if you're gonna lie, don't do the things that make it obvious you're lying.
So. I was also reading like body language when someone's gonna fight you. Okay. And it's always the look away. They look away before they throw hands at you.
So like they're looking around to see if someone's gonna see them do the thing or what?
Yeah, it's like you're gonna see if someone's there, but they always look away or turn their body away, and then they come back and beat your ass. So keep those social cues up.
The people that don't read social cues are the unfortunate victims. See how I brought it back? Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, you're welcome, guys.
Because
okay.
Because they're dead. Damn.
Well, some of them. We're gonna talk. We're gonna, I guess, give a little bit of a holistic view on true crime, not just on like what it is today, but I do want to talk a little bit about where it came from, why it seems like women in particular are super interested in true crime, and I guess we could talk a little bit too towards the end of whether we think it's a good thing or a bad thing, because it has its positives for sure, as we'll get into, but I think it also might have some negatives. But let's begin with a little bit of the history, shall we? Because I did a little bit of research, and I thought true crime was just like a thing that started like in modern times. But actually, it started as early as the 16th century as a result of the development of the criminal justice and the printing press. So basically, as soon as those printing presses were first invented, people started realizing that if we print out basically like the hangings that happened recently and why they were hung and stuff like that, and we know back in the day the church it ruled a lot of like just society. And so they would also use it as a way of like basically scaring people into like, don't commit crimes because look at what's happened to so and so. So this happened again back since the 16th century. So this has been a thing since forever, basically. And even in the 1800s, saw the birth of detective stories, which cemented true crime as an official genre. You have notable books like Cold Blood, which detail the murder of the Cutter family. You have other books like The Thin Blue Line, and just these books that basically were genre defining and really captivated the interest of a lot of people. And then from the books, now you have a bunch of podcasts and like you have podcasts like Serial and My Favorite Murder. You have documentaries on Netflix, and it's basically everywhere now.
With Jack the Ripper, right? 1888. That was when that happened. So 1800s.
When was Sherlock Holmes written?
It's
a good question. I think I mean, we could look it up, but I think Sherlock Holmes is all fiction, right?
Yeah, but it's still in the same realm, right?
Oh, okay.
Well,
Jack the Ripper
is a little different, but what's up?
Jack the Ripper happened in 1888.
Mm-hmm.
Sherlock Holmes happened in 1887.
There it is.
Wow.
It's still the romanticization of...
Yeah, why should we look things up when we can just wildly speculate on them, Jeff?
No. This is for wild speculations, Edwin.
Well, let's get into some speculations then. Why do you guys think that true crime has been along for such a long time, and it seems like it's more popular than ever?
It's one of those things, right, where it's very easy to be captivated by these stories, right? Because you got this seemingly normal person who's like quiet, soft-spoken, but then they lure unsuspecting victims into their clutches, and you can bring in all these like big sexy words, and then they kill.
They disfigure,
they mutilate
disembowel,
them. Yeah,
and disembody, and
it is pretty gory. The level of detail that goes into some of these true crime stories.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, shit's intense, man. I honestly can't do true crime. But I just realized, stick with me, guys. We're in Hispanic Heritage Month. What do Mexicans love if not a good corrido? And what are good corridos? Detailings of
narco
killings and criminals.
Right.
True crime in music form, if you will.
But these are modern day Robin Hood stories, Edwin.
They're not Robin Hood stories. Motherfuckers are out there killing people in those corridos.
Robin Hood stories, man.
No, there's no...
Tell me Pablo Escobar wasn't one of the greats to the people of Medellin.
He was a man of the people, It doesn't matter that he did all these bad things. He did some good things, so he's a good guy.
There's stories of El Chapo walking around Sinaloa just talking to people while he was wanted. No one ratted him out. Why would they? Because he's a man of the people, Edwin.
Anyways, going back to the topic of true crime, there is a big difference between how true crime used to be, I guess, represented back in the day versus now. So before true crime it was really more about the killers themselves, and things were more so like a glamorization of how cold and calculated they were, how they were like evil geniuses, and the true crimes were about how like they were able to trick people, and that they were just this like unassuming person that's just like out of nowhere just bam does the thing and nobody even knows who did it. So it really glamorized them, which as we know today, it's very problematic to glamorize these sorts of folks, because well then it inspires others, right? And so we have true crime today, and it's in large part because of I will say the work, because of the work of a lot of special women that have been able to bring it to the forefront. And yes, there's still some glamorization of the killers, but the way that these women have been able to basically reclaim the crimes, because most of the crimes, like 90+% of crimes, happen to women. Basically, true crime now is now more based on the women's perspective, and how women are not just victims, they're more so survivors now. And that big like narrative change, I feel, is one of the biggest reasons why it is so popular. Because I mean, it'd be kind of boring if if all the stories were just always about these guys that I guess you could like psychoanalyze them, and like they were beat when they were kids, and their dads were this and their moms were that, and this is why they did things. They hated women. They, et cetera, et cetera. But when you focus more so on the stories of the survivors, and really humanize humanize the people that suffer through these things, and you have, I guess in a way you might have some happy endings, quote unquote.
Well,
Because I try to understand too true crime, because most of it ends in like very sad and gory details, and then I guess sometimes you have like happy endings where some folks survived. So I guess silver linings, but I also don't do true crime. I can't. I'm not like super interested in them. That might just be, I guess, their privilege of being men. That true crime is kind of like it's just a genre, whereas for some women, true crime is like actually a way for them to know what to do in certain circumstances. Like,
yeah, the level of understanding that they want to acquire from this true crime podcast or book or anything, they
mm-hmm.
want to gain something from it, right? But I don't know. There's those people that become infatuated with the serial killer themselves, right? And that throws everything out the window.
Oh God. Yeah, I saw
There-
the Netflix one of the documentaries on this serial killer stuff, the Night Stalker, and that was the first time that I found out that there's a lot of people who actually idolize these killers and wish that they would have been killed by them as like some sort of like fetish.
I
Yeah.
mean, Ted Bundy got married while he was in prison, standing trial for the murders.
I mean, there's gonna be crazy people.
Yeah, so
There's gotta be crazy people for sure.
this has been a thing for a while.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, there's the show on Netflix called Dark Tourist, right? This dude latches himself on to a tourist destination of whatever sorts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's like, why are people into this? Why are people, what do they get from this, right? So he goes and, he went to Medellin, and he met Pablo Escobar's hitman. He talked to him about it, and he was just like, why do people come here to you, a person who killed hundreds of people, and they're like, well, they want to meet me, right? And it's just like, okay, right? But then he goes over to actual serial killers' destinations, right? To people where crazy serial killings happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see a bunch of women being part of the group, and they're like, "Oh, we love this. He was so attractive. He was so intelligent. He was so interesting. And everyone's just kind of like gathered around in a huddle, kind of
Mm-hmm.
intaking the whole experience, and it's kind of fucking weird. That it doesn't vibe with me very well to kind of idolize people who have done such heinous shit. It's the reason why. Yeah, I mean, even I don't know. Go ahead.
So one thing that I will say about praising people that have done stuff like this is that I guess the one thing that we have to remember is that we're all human, and the human psyche has a lot of evil thoughts and a lot of things that, if there were no consequences, a lot of people would do a lot of really evil shit, if we're going to be honest. And it's the fact that there are punishments and laws that deter people from basically committing these crimes. Let's just call they're murders, but I'm gonna just say crimes because it's all encompassing. And I guess I could see the infatuation over like, wow, this person actually did the dark things that are in all our minds, and they're fascinating because like, why are you able to do them where everybody else is, constrained?
I think you're making a vast generalization. I don't think I don't have these thoughts. I don't think. You know what, man? If I could just have no consequences, I'd just kill everybody. I think, man. You know what? I could just shoot this person right here and now and be like, "Fuck it, dude."
So why do you admire a character like the Joker?
Because it's fictional. I don't know. It's just like admiring villain. I wouldn't say I admire him. I just like him as a character, right? I don't have this great adoration for him. I'm not gonna go to the Joker movie and shoot up the movie theater. You know.
Right, because you're able to like you constrain yourself from never doing anything bad because you know it's bad and you have morals. There's some people out there that they have morals, or some of them that don't have morals, but they don't do the things that they're thinking about doing because, well, there's consequences and you only have one life.
I think if you really wanted to do it, you'd just do it anyway.
It's not that simple.
Sometimes it is.
All right.
I mean, it's sometimes it is, but like I'm just trying to understand why people would be fascinated by people who do evil, and that's one explanation that kind of makes sense to me.
Well, the thing that would make sense to me is the same. It's kind of like the same reason why people like skydiving. The same reason why people like scary movies or hot, spicy things. Right? It's the thrill of being in danger, but not actually being in danger.
Yeah, being scared in a controlled environment.
Yeah, so you're scared, you're listening to these things or doing these things, right? Skydiving, whatever. But you're going to be fine at the end of it. And it's just
you're talking about like enjoying true crime from the comfort of your couch.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you're just taking in these gruesome details, and oh my god, it is disgusting. Oh my god, it is super fucking scary. But you're just gonna be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what gets everyone off in some way, shape, or form. There's one thing that you like doing that is dangerous for your mental health, for anything, right? But you know that you're gonna be just fine after you do it, and that's why you do it. And I think true crime does that to some people.
Yeah, I can see that too. Kind of like a guilty pleasure of sorts.
Yeah. You know that if this wasn't in a controlled environment, you'd be so fucked. I like spicy food. If if I couldn't control how much spice I intook, I'd be so fucked, right? But it gets me euphoric. It gets me hype instead. And I think that's what people feel with true crime. The fact that they are getting these gruesome details that they wouldn't otherwise, right? But because it's so accessible, like before, I guess you'd have to be there to witness these things, but because you can hear it in your couch on a podcast or read it on a book or watch it in a movie, you're fine.
Yeah, I think something you're alluding to is the fact that because there's so much true crime media now, is that it's a respected genre now. Because before it was very like you kind of kept it to yourself, that you liked indulging in like true crime and murder mysteries and stuff like that, because you didn't want people to look at you weird, like, wow, that's all you like to read about is how so and so killer did so and so things. Like they look at you kind of weird. But now it's like, if you just enjoy it at your house or on your way to or from work because you're listening to a podcast or whatever, however it is that you enjoy it, people don't look at you weird like that anymore, because now it's more of like a respected genre.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest podcast of true crime is My Favorite Murder, right? And that name is insane.
Yeah, the name of alone is very captivating.
That name gets you in the door. You're like, what the fuck? Right? And it just brings you in. And then you meet people that are charismatic and they talk about these things in a more level-headed way, and you're like, oh yeah, this is nice, right? And then there you go, you're in.
Yeah,
but
one of my favorite things about My Favorite Murder is what they call their fans. You know what their fans are called?
No.
Murderinos.
Murderinos.
Murderinos. And one
good.
of their slogans is "Stay sexy and don't get murdered."
Yeah, that's one of their books, right? I think
they probably titled one of them that, yeah. And as serious as true crime is, because the stories and everything that's being told are real, and people really did suffer, and lots of families basically were never the same. I think that having true crime be such a, I don't know if the word is welcoming, or I guess like a genre that you could just kind of imagine that it like has like its arms wide open to just kind of like bring you in and like hug you and comfort you, because we talked about, and I give a little bit of statistic here. According to a study published in May of 2018, 73% of true crime podcast listeners are women. And so with that in mind, these podcasts are basically giving women an avenue to not only express themselves, because they do have these things called minisodes. I know a little bit about My Favorite Murder, not because I listen to it on my own, but because my girlfriend likes to play it while we're on a trip or something. And they have these things called minisodes where they allow people to write to them basically and tell them about like their hometown murder. And so it gives people kind of like this, like their community is basically like, hey, murder is kind of like everywhere around us, and these are like the things that are happening, and it's not just the famous ones. The famous ones are, sure, they're all like big news, and it's like on national television, but like there's a lot of little hometown stories that are very real as well. And so everyone's kind of just like here in this together, like they always advocating about like going to therapy and like going to all these things. And so it's a very good conversation that they have over there. So if you're like true crime and for whatever reason you have not listened to My Favorite Murder, I think it's definitely worth a listen.
And I guess my lady has made true crime her livelihood, you know? And if you do like true crime, there's a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of jobs out there. If you want to go,
will say it's not for the faint of heart.
If you want to go to autopsy rooms, it's there. They're Just short on people. So yeah, that's the shit. I I mean, for me, whenever Denise comes home, she tells me about her day, and it
Mm-hmm.
involves a crime or something that happened either a long time ago, or it's just really, it gives me nightmares. It's just like, fuck, dude, that shit is rough. And then I put myself in a situation in my dream where I'm there, and I'm like, what the fuck, right? And it's just like, for me, true crime isn't good for me, right? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gives these thoughts in my head that I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, why would anybody want to consume this, right? But I understand that there's this fascination, like, to it, and I don't know. It's interesting.
And we alluded to it a little bit earlier. Is that the true crime stuff is not just like it's not just entertainment, but oftentimes it's informational, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like a case study of sorts. So not gonna speak for women, but I would assume a good majority of them listen to true crime as a learning experience. So like, if creepy person that's been a creep does this stuff, like this is what's happened in the past, so I know what kind of shit to avoid.
Unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right?
Yeah, and
Well, I mean,
it
okay,
could be
we've
that we don't care about true crime because we don't have those dangers or those same fears every day.
but those same fears in men could be translated into war movies. Why do men love war movies?
Why do men love war movies?
Yeah. If we're grossly generalizing that women love true crime, let's generalize that men love war movies. And why is that? If war is like equally as heinous.
I'm trying to think back, and I don't think I've seen very many war movies.
I mean, some of the most critically acclaimed films have been war movies.
Yeah, but I've never seen Saving Private Ryan. I never saw
Have you guys
Dunkirk.
seen Dunkirk or 19?
Nope, I didn't see
I
either
s-
of those.
I went to go see that one by myself in theaters, and it was a good time. And I can see it on that respect. I wouldn't want to be in the trenches. I don't aspire to ever be on the trenches,
No,
right?
dude.
But those
every World War II movie with like the trench warfare is like, oh fuck this.
That was World War One, dude.
Oh, well, World War One. Sorry.
Yeah, World War One is trench warfare.
It's just like, dude, there's no way you get drafted to that shit, and you have to. You're being told to to run across. Woo.
yeah.
So I
Maybe
don't
that's-
partake.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I don't partake in the movies, but I do partake in the games. Cause, yeah, from Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original one, which is Call of Duty 4,
Mhm.
all the way up to Black Ops 2, I played the shit out of those games. And yes, it was mostly the multiplayer, but I played a lot of the story. And I just think it's interesting, man, because you're playing through history, and it's one of those things that if you don't learn about the past, you're just doomed to repeat it, right? So it's just interesting to see how like Germany built their empire under Hitler, and like one mistake essentially caused it to just collapse entirely.
Another despicable man who gets the intelligent and genius moniker
By a bunch
attached to
of
them.
white nationalists.
Yep.
Yeah, so like Band of Brothers, have you guys ever seen that?
No.
No.
Band of Brothers, I think it's like I want to say 10 episode docu-series on like one particular squadron in World War II. I haven't seen it all the way through, but like I've seen like half of it, and it's really good. It's really interesting because it's like you have people being interviewed in the squadron, and then it cuts to like an act, like a, I guess a, how would you call it? Like it just cuts to like actors basically acting out that role in like a drama series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shit like that's just interesting to me.
But why? I remember in 8th grade, one of my teachers was like, "Hey, we're gonna play a war movie. It's gonna be fun for everybody." Yeah, blah blah blah. But I gotta warn you guys, it could get a little graphic, right? And it was the movie. Ah, shit, Glory. I think it's called Glory. It's about the Civil War, and people are fighting, right? And there's a scene where this guy's talking, having a good time with his buds, and it gets shot straight to the face.
Yikes.
I never forgot that fucking scene because on one side he was fine, and then just gets shot straight to the face. You see the hole, he just falls and dies. And it's just like, oh fuck. Okay. Right? So I don't know, maybe I was having the same feeling of I'm fine. Right? I'm watching this. I'm perfectly safe. But like, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm having that same reaction to it. Where it's some shit you're not supposed to see, some shit like it was just entertaining to watch as an 8th grader at the time, seeing shit you're not supposed to see, and then, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for war movies, I have always really liked the war movies that have taken a more realistic approach and how gruesome and how like how basically war is nothing to really glamorize, that it's just like this vicious thing that, you know, people just die, and there's no sure there's honor in it and stuff for some, but mostly it all kind of just seems so pointless in the end, seeing so many people die. And I'm trying to connect it back to true crime, because if men like watching violence in the form of war movies, and there's a large amount of women that like watching violence in the form of true crime. I wonder what the connection there is, other than like,
People just have a grim curiosity, dude.
yeah,
It's one of
it
those
could
things
be
that
grim.
spans all genders. Is that the appropriate word? I don't know anymore.
But like, why would women not have the same grim curiosity about war that
Is
men
it
do?
because
Hey-
it's more is it more intimate? It's
Well,
more
no. So
one-on-one?
think about it this way. When you're growing up and you're watching these war movies, the sad reality is that those are children in those movies being portrayed, right? Most of these guys were like 18, fresh out of high school. Some of them were like 14-year-olds that lied to get in, right?
Okay.
So you could realistically see yourselves in these situations, right? Because you know back then the army was predominantly probably only men.
Mhm.
So as a man, you put yourself in this situation. You're like, holy fuck, this could have been me back then. So I guess in the same realm, if we're saying that like the crime statistics for these are predominantly towards women, then they
Right.
can then put themselves in the shoes of the victim and been like, holy shit, this could have been me.
Right, right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Also, how much emphasis is placed on parenting when it comes to true crime? Right? The parenting that the person received and how that formed them into being what they are.
Damn, that's
Yeah, I don't consume a whole lot of true crime but from what I gathered is that maybe they do touch on it, but I think the primary things that are being touched on now is more of the stories of the survivors.
Which is good. Which definitely shouldn't put a lot of weight into the guy that did the heinous shit.
Yeah, because once you start going into like their upbringings and like
Humanizing
it
them.
lends itself to like, yeah, you humanize them and you like maybe start feeling a little sorry for them, because like, oh well, maybe if you were hugged, you know, by that lady that wants to hug Putin.
The lady, yeah, said, if I was your mother, Putin,
Yeah,
none
so
of this would have
if she
happened.
was everyone's mother, there would be no criminals. because she would just hug us and everything will be okay.
The self-importance of that fucking video, man.
Hey man, if I saw a documentary called Friday the 13th where that didn't seem to be the case at all. All right, that mother loved her son Jason, and you know that didn't work out too good.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, it just the more I feel like the more we try to understand some people, there's just things that are
It might be getting my
beyond the
crossed.
realm of comprehension.
This is one of those good episodes where having somebody talk about true crime with us would have been helpful, especially
Like
being on the
like an expert or an
Yeah,
avid consumer.
an avid consumer.
I have
Avid.
some experience with it. It's mostly fictional because I had a Criminal Minds phase, right?
Oh, I like that show.
Yeah, and that's essentially fictionalized true crime, right? Because there's a case to be solved. They profile the villain or the person, and then they try to crack the case, right? And this is
Right.
played out on a 1 hour episode, and so on and so forth. And I like the whole psychology aspect of it. I like that they broke him down through his tendencies. They were able to gauge how likely he was to be this kind of person. And I've always liked that. That's what I like in poker too. It's like if you put yourself in a scenario over and over and over again, patterns start to repeat, and you can then see what the end result can be. Like,
So I have a guilty pleasure. Whenever I do go to a hotel, right, it is Food Network #1. But if they're playing some shit I don't jive with, there's a channel that plays only true crime things, and I forget the name. Is it Dateline? I don't know. But
Oh yeah, I think
there's a
is it
channel that
Dateline?
just plays just true crime stuff, and being in a hotel makes it that much better.
Yeah, it's Dateline and NBC.
Yeah, it's a place where I don't feel 100% safe, and I'm throwing true crime at myself, right? And it's just it's pretty fucking good at that setting and only that setting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe there is something to be said about that.
Something that I thought of while Jeff was talking about Criminal Minds is that and because I like that show too, it seemed like him and I were more interested in kind of understanding, I guess, like
mystery?
the psychology of like why they did the things they did, whereas true crime now focuses more on less on like why they did the things, but more on like how survivors were able to get out of the situation.
Well, a lot of the draw is also the psychology of the serial killer. You know, like the motives are one of those things that really pull people in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the dismissal of the mentality of the serial killer for the survival aspect, I think it still pulls a significant audience. You know what I'm saying?
well, it's one of those things that they like any media, it has to adapt with the times, right? So like if they know that their target audience is women, they just adapt it towards them, right? That's how media works. That's how it's always worked.
I can see that, yeah.
So like back then, it was more of like something everyone can digest. So they try to make it more broad, I guess. And now that they've honed in on an audience, they can target it better.
So I have something to just a question, I guess. Because we're kind of talking about how true crime in some cases might be sensationalized, or sometimes it's just, it could actually be something fruitful and positive for people to listen to so that they know what to do in certain situations, etc. So, and this might just be playing a devil's advocate a little bit. You guys think that we're bringing awareness to these cases, or is it more like just like straight up just degenerate entertainment? Because you could make because Jeff was talking about how like media will adapt to what people are like wanting to listen to. So are we sensationalizing true crime?
Yes.
If people want to learn more about this stuff and people will put out more content about this stuff, at some point does the line ever get blurry between like just wanting to report on things just for clicks versus like important stuff that needs to be put out there?
Well, the new Jeffrey Dahmer series is exactly that. It is glamorizing the entire thing, making it sexy, and it's upsetting the victims' families, right? It's upsetting so many people that were involved with that case, that it is portraying it in that way.
Yeah, because I do believe that there's a way to cover certain stories and be true to the to be true to what happened and let the survivors basically dictate like how they want the story to be told. Like I think there are ways to get that done. But I also do have the worry that some of these stories are just being straight up produced for profit.
That's exactly what it is.
As a viewer, it's our job to distinguish between the two, to figure out what's being sensationalized and what isn't.
People are still going to eat it up.
Yeah,
the problem.
That's the sad reality of it.
Yeah.
Perversion sells, man.
I mean, if I go on Netflix right now, there's like 4 different documentaries that are like, oh, hey, watch Ted Bundy, watch Jeffrey Dahmer, watch the guy with the clown face whose name I forgot.
I don't know a guy with the clown face.
I don't know. The thumbnail is just like a guy. It's like half him in like a clown suit, half him holding up the jail card. You know what I'm talking about?
Interesting. I don't know.
So with that in mind, do you guys think it's ethical? Is true crime ethical?
When
the
it's
genre itself.
When it's done informative, when it's done for the sake of like giving a voice to the victims, bringing awareness to situations that can occur to you, I think that is exceptionally fine. I think that's how you do it. When it's just, hey, this guy murdered people and he's so sexy and cool, dark and mysterious, that's when you jump the shark and go, okay, now you're just doing it for money.
Yeah. You start using words like charismatic, handsome, like you start throwing words that are in praise of the serial killer or person who did the crimes, right? Like, I don't think that's okay. It's the way they address the person in question in the first place, right?
100%. I think what Jeff said was gold. I think it's exactly what it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's basically all I got on the true crime conversation. You guys got anything else you guys want to add before we set off into the sunset?
Nah, I mean, I would like to hear some perspectives if y'all got them.
Yeah, let us know in the comments section why you watch true crime.
Any closing thoughts?
Interesting. I mean, because I could read like statistics or surveys and stuff like that, but it would be interesting to know what our listeners like. I guess like a little more anecdotal, maybe perhaps like more qualitative type of research, just to know.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our episode. You can reach us at our website, tiltednotsir.com, or at our Instagram. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
Remember to join us to share your questions and voice your thoughts on what has you tilted, not stirred.
Deuces.
Was that a seductive voice? Charming voice?
I'm charming and charismatic.
And charismatic?
Yeah, be careful. I have dark thoughts.